He has this exchange with Dasha Burns, who people may remember that name. She was the one at NBC who had the temerity to report that John Fetterman was not well off cam. And then all the left rained down on her. And then she spent the next 6 months trying to make it up to them. So now she sits down with Ron DeSantis and tries to do a real-time fact check of something he said on abortion. The shorter clip is playing in some circles. I'm going to play the longer clip. He did push back on her in the moment. And after the interview, his team is pushing back even harder. But check this exchange out. It's SOT 7, which aired on, in part on NBC Today Show yesterday, and then on MSNBC. No, I don't want 6. I'm arguing with Steve Crack. Oh, whatever. My team's overruling me. Just play the long exchange.
I would not allow what a lot of the left wants to do, which is to override pro-life protections throughout the country, all the way up really until the moment of birth in some instances, which I think is infanticide.
Well, actually, I got to push back on you on that because that's a misrepresentation of what's happening. I mean, that 1.3% of abortions happen at 21 weeks or higher. There's no evidence of Democrats pushing for
but their
abortions
view
up
is,
until...
Their view is that all the way up into that, yet there should not be any legal protections.
There is no indication of Democrats pushing for that.
No indication of any Democrats pushing for that. So Team DeSantis, after the fact, comes out with the following montage proving that there are many Democrats pushing for that. Here's the example, SOT 8.
Do you support any restrictions on abortion?
I don't. I've always believed...
Even in the third trimester? Do you think there should be any limitation on abortions?
No, I do not.
Where it's obvious that a woman is about to give birth. She has physical signs of that she is about to give a birth. Would that still be a point at which she could request an abortion if she was so certified?
My bill would allow that, yes.
Do you believe that a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy up until the moment of birth?
Look, I think that happens very, very rarely. But at the end of the day, I believe that the decision over abortion belongs to a woman and a physician.
My question was about any limits to abortion at any point. You know, late term, anything?
You got to leave it up to the woman.
Up till now, my understanding is there wasn't a limit on when in a pregnancy a woman could receive an abortion. Have you set any limit on
There are no limits.
No limits. No limits, Rich. And yet Dasha Burns, on behalf of NBC News, and let me tell you, having worked there, they pour over your questions with a fine-tooth comb. But this was her trying to do a live fact check, and it was an utter fail. What do you make of it?
Yeah, so first of all, just on the pure tactical level, this shows why Ron DeSantis needed to do interviews with legacy, mainstream, corporate, whatever you want to call it, media, because we're talking about this hit in a way we wouldn't if it was just another friendly segment on Fox News, because there was conflict, and we cover conflict, and he performed well, which is good. So on the merits of it, Dasha Burns, as far as I know, she only came on our radar screen on the incident you mentioned that we talked a little bit on the show, the exchange with Eric Fetterman, or her report afterwards that Senator Fetterman, didn't fully understand what she was saying during the idle talk before and after the interview, and the world came crashing down on her head. As far as I know, she's a good reporter and a well-informed person, but it just goes to this massive ideological blind spot that everyone on the left to center has on abortion, where it just doesn't compute that this is the position of a lot of Democrats. And there's not as though the Democrats are hiding it, right? You ask them this question. They're not often asked it, but they sometimes are asked it. Many of them will tell you, no, we don't support any restrictions on abortion through the entirety of the 9 months. And since that is Democratic fanaticism and extremism on abortion, it's just not something that they can fully integrate into their worldview. So in real time, she's like, no, you must be lying. No Democrat would be that crazy to support that position. But of course they do.
It's like, just take a little time to look into it and you'll see it's very true. And as you say, they're on the record, on camera, saying it's true. And these are not unknown Democrats. You know, the Brett Baier interview with Tim Ryan, you know, he was really making a go of it in Ohio. in his run for Senate. Bernie Sanders on the New York City mayor, Eric Adams, was in there. We could go down the list. MBD, you guys at NBC NBC at National Review have a post today, which people should check out. It was dated yesterday, I think, called NBC's Faulty Abortion Fact Check, pointing out, okay, so Dasha Burns wants people to know that 1.3% of abortions happen at 21 weeks or later. So that 1.3% of 930,000 total abortions in the U.S. equals 12,000 babies in which the pregnancies were terminated at 21 weeks or later, when babies are capable of feeling pain and sometimes capable of surviving outside the womb. And for all those sitting at home thinking, oh, that's only severely deformed babies who would have no chance of living outside the womb, that's not true either.
Right. I mean, we have the data from the Guttmacher Institute and from Planned Parenthood themselves, basically saying that these are abortions of choice, most of them even in the very late term. There are very few that are caused by these medical conditions, thank God. And the Democrats are currently campaigning to keep them legal. I mean, they're currently campaigning in states like Ohio for constitutional amendments that don't say in any explicit way, we're authorizing or we're making a late-term abortion a constitutional right with all of the, gross medical descriptions that could go with it. They're just hiding it in the euphemism of rights language and privacy language. It's because they don't want to talk about the details of this. They don't want to talk about the actual numbers, and they don't want to talk about the success of pro-life laws. I mean, we've seen stories throughout the past couple months from the New York Times and others profiling young families who could not get an abortion in, say, Texas or Florida after a certain number of weeks. They went and had the child, and now the father and mother got married. The father enrolled in the army and is earning more money now than he was when the two were just dating, and they're actually forming families. And the New York Times is portraying this as some kind of disaster, when in fact it's actually a kind of heartwarming story. And that's happening for scores of thousands of babies that have been saved by these pro-life laws that have passed since Roe was overturned. And Democrats are campaigning to reverse that, to go back to Roe state by state through these constitutional amendments. And they're doing it right now. So there's no excuse for NBC to screw this up. I mean, they should know what Democrats' position is. They've made it abundantly clear.
It's ideological bias. Here's a little bit of the longer exchange. Okay, we played you the short clip that they played on the Today Show of that interview between Dasha Burns and Ron DeSantis. It went on. He did come back on her just a bit. My producers are back in my head, in my ear. No. Debbie, be quiet. Canadian Debbie took a week off, and now she's throwing me off. SOT 7 is the longer exchange.
They've done it in California. They've done it in other states.
They have not instituted that policy.
Yeah, they have. They basically will say that, if there's some type of they'll use different ways to really have a wide exception for it.
It's extremely rare, 1.3%, and in those circumstances, they're typically extremely emotional decisions.
Well, no, I mean, I don't say that that's the norm in terms of this, but I do think that the left in this country has moved on.
Okay, so here's the reason I play it. He did fine. He did push back, but he can do better, and he should do better. He needs to do better. He's the underdog to be charitable about it. And he needs the big moment, Rich. He needs the in-your-face, this is what you Democrats do. This is what the media does. They take this hot-button issue and they mislead on it. By the way, do you not care about the 12,000 babies? You don't think that a 9-month baby in the womb has the right to be born? That's up to the mother, Dasha, right? I'm not sure, because we know he's capable of it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why he's not swinging for the fences here and in other exchanges.
Yeah, so I would say a couple things. I was talking to someone who knows him well the other day after the Lincoln dinner in Des Moines, where all the candidates spoke, and then they had receptions afterwards. And the DeSantis team shared this clip from reception where he was drinking a Coors Light, not a Bud Light, of course, Coors Light, and was toasting with some people. And it just felt so unnatural and so forced. And I was just remarking on this to someone. He's like, yeah, he's just not good in those settings. Where he's really good, actually, is being combative with reporters. So that's another reason they should get him in these sort of settings. Now, I agree with you. He could obviously use a big moment, but you have to be careful trying to force it, right? And the thing is, if he's, sorry, I'm going to use a sports analogy, Megyn. If you're out there, you're getting the at-bats, you're getting singles and doubles. Maybe this was a double. You're not necessarily swinging for the fences because sometimes that can backfire on you. Eventually, you're going to have probably the kind of moment you're talking about. So I would say the polls are horrible right now for DeSantis, for everyone else in the field besides Trump. But I do think the last couple of weeks, you can see how DeSantis could learn and could improve, and maybe he is on the campaign trail.
Junk science. That's what the doctor called many of those fruit and vegetable supplements on the market. Junk science because they use extracts of common produce department fruits and vegetables with few health benefits, let's face it. But I want to tell you about Field of Greens. Now, Field of Greens is different. They use the whole organic fruit and vegetable, not a watered-down supplement. And it's backed by a better health promise, which I'm about to tell you about. Each ingredient in Field of Greens was scientifically chosen to support vital organs like heart, lungs, and kidney health. Others support your immune system, blood pressure, metabolism, and healthy weight loss. Their better health promise is simple. The next time you're at the doctor for a checkout, if the doc doesn't say something like, "You are looking healthier than before," you get your money back. That's a deal right there. So let me get you started with 15% off. Visit fieldofgreens.com and use my promo code MK. That's promo code MK at fieldofgreens.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.